In this video, I'm going to walk you through the shape tools in Adobe Illustrator 2018. In our toolbar on the left-hand side, I happen to be working in the Essentials Classic workspace. In the toolbar on the left-hand side, there's a rectangle. The hotkey for the rectangle tool is the letter M. The hotkey for the ellipse tool, or circle tool, is the letter L. When you click down and hold on the rectangle tool button, it will pull out what I like to think about as a drawer of tools. And if you click on the little front panel of this drawer, you will be able to see all of the shape tools in Adobe Illustrator. We're going to begin with the rectangle tool, partially because it's the first one. In order to use any of these tools, you have a couple of options. You can just click on your workspace, and that's going to bring up a dialog box, and the dialog box will allow you to tell it you want to make a specific shape. So in this case, I'm going to make a 2-inch rectangle. A 2-inch rectangle would also be called a square. And I'm going to fill that rectangle with red, and then we have a black stroke on this particular rectangle. The components of a shape in Illustrator consist of a bounding box, which is this blue box in this case, that has 8 points on it, 1 at each corner and 1 in the middle of each segment. In terms of a rectangle, we also have this icon right here, which is called the corner rounding widget. It allows you to round the corners of your shape, and we have this little center anchor point that allows us to move the shape. So the first way you can create a rectangle is, of course, to click. That's going to bring up your dialog box. The second option you have is simply to click and drag, and that will allow you, when you're clicking and dragging, holding the mouse button down as you drag, this allows you to draw out a shape at whatever dimensions you would like to. One of the really neat things about Adobe Illustrator and the shape tools is that as you're drawing, you're going to get a couple things. See, if you notice the pink line that goes diagonal in my space, that is called a smart guide, and it lets me know that at this particular moment my rectangle is actually a perfect square, so the height and the width are identical. As I move that, you'll notice there's a little gray rectangle off to the side, and that tells me the width and the height of my shape. So again, that's the rectangle tool. Our next tool in the drawer is called the rounded rectangle tool, and it is exactly like the rectangle tool, except that we begin with rounded corners. So if I were to click, I could tell it I wanted a 2-inch rectangle or 2-inch square, and then I want the corner radius. This is the distance between the corner and that corner rounding widget. Imagine it was a circle. Remember, the radius is the distance from the center to the edge of the circle. I'm going to go ahead and make that 1/4 of an inch. And there is our rounded rectangle. The next tool is the ellipse tool. Go ahead and change our rounded rectangle here to green real quick. The next tool is the ellipse tool. And the ellipse tool, click off that shape so I can change the color here. The ellipse tool is the tool that we use to make circles or ovals. Or any sort of round-ish shape. So again, notice in this case the smart guides are telling me that the height and the width are identical. So I have a circle. Another way you can do that is to hold the Shift key. That will constrain your proportions to ensure that you have a circle. In this case, I have a new smart guide that has showed up, and this one is the pink line that goes from the bottom of the rounded rectangle to the bottom of my circle, and it's letting me know that those two items are aligned. That's our circle tool. The next tool is the Polygon tool. The Polygon tool allows you to make polygons, regular polygons with symmetrical sides that are the same size and shape, and our our Polygon tool has an extra icon, and it's this little guy on our bounding box. There's an extra little square. If you put your cursor over it, you'll notice you've got a plus and a minus, and this little square is going to allow you to increase or decrease the number of sides. From 3 is the lowest to 11 is the highest. Now, then we also have our corner rounding widget with the Polygon tool as well. Now, polygons are often a tool that what you really want to do is use the dialog box. So again, you access the dialog box by just clicking. And here you can set the radius of your shape and the number of sides. So here I'm going to make a shape with a 1-inch radius. That means it'll be 2 inches across and 100 sides. Now that happens to look like a circle, but if we were to grab our direct selection tool so we could see all of the anchor points, you'll see that here on my circle I only have 4, but this particular shape I have 100. I don't really recommend that that's the way you make a circle, but the Polygon tool can be fun for lots of other things as well. Let's make a 24-sided shape in this case. And there you can start to see the sides. And in this case, I can drag those down. There we go. Now we have an octagon. Turn that red, and there's your stop sign. The last tool I'm going to share with you in this video, I'll show you the flare tool for just a half a second. It's not a tool I use with great frequency, but the last tool I'm really going to show you is the star tool. The star tool works similar to the polygon, except that you have 2 radiuses in this case. One is going to be the outer radius, and the other is the inner radius. So here's our standard star. The outer radius is the outer points. The inner radius is that inner set of points. And with our star tool, now with our star we don't have that magic little icon on the side that lets us change the number of sides on the fly, but we can, while we're clicking and dragging, use the up arrow key on your keyboard to increase sides, and use the down arrow key on your keyboard to reduce sides. And so that is our star tool. Last but not least, I promised I would show you is the flare tool. Now, up till now, the dialog box that has had the most options is the star tool. We have an inner radius, an outer radius, and the number of points. The flare tool, on the other hand, this is used to make lens flare type effects on like a sunspot kind of idea. Here's what the dialog box for the flare tool looks like. We have a whole lot of options. So you get to choose the number of rays and the size of the center and how much haloing there is, how many rings there are. I have found for myself it's not a tool that I use with great frequency, but it is there just in case you want to play with it. And so that is our video about shapes in Adobe Illustrator.